Okay, so in that time frame, I had my hysterectomy. I had my hysterectomy, and mind you, this is all a blur. I had my hysterectomy in 2023, in like September 2023, in which I was on the Wegovy. I came off the Wegovy, and after everything was said and done, I went back on the Wegovy. So around the beginning of the year, I was like, you know what, I want to come off the Wegovy altogether. When I came off, I was like around 185 pounds. I was like, I want to see if I can do the rest of this on my own without any assistance or whatever else. So I came off the Wegovy, and first part is usually they talk about weight gain as far as when you come off Wegovy. I gained like 5 pounds, so I like my weight went back up to like 190 or whatever else when I came off. And that's going into 2024. I came off, so I was still like eating the way I was eating. I was not going to the gym like I was going to, because I don't know, for some reason it just feels different now that I don't have the community that I used to have. And it's like in my head I feel like I should be able to do certain things that I used to be able to do, but my body does not do it. So it's just like frustrating somewhat. So it's really, really hard to go back. So that's one of my goals, is to get back into the routine. So around April 2024, I'm looking like I'm still not feeling quite myself or whatever else and everything else. So I'm like, am I going through menopause? So I go to my family doctor. I'm like, can you check my hormones along with my annual physical? And I don't know why I asked him to check my hormones, because it's not like he specializes in hormones, but I did. So from what I read of the hormones, I guess nothing was abnormal, because they didn't call me about anything being abnormal. None of my labs were abnormal. Even though I felt like my testosterone level seemed a little low. But I'm looking like in my head I'm sitting there thinking like, well, if it was a problem, he would call me or whatever else. Foreshadowing. So he would call me or whatever else. But so I just let it be. And I go through 2024, I get to 2025. So then the beginning of 2025, I was like, you know what, I'm not really losing the weight or whatever else, which sure, me not going to the gym or doing cardio and all that is just probably not helping either. But probably not helping either, which I know this. So I'm like, well, let's go back on the Wegovy and see if that does anything. So I go back on the Wegovy, and I'm not really losing weight. I'm not really losing weight at all. It's very frustrating, actually. So I'm not really losing weight. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because mind you, before I could drop weight or whatever just like that. But also I'm older now. So we're going through 2025, around April 2025. Talking to my BFF, and we're talking about, ER visits, whatever else, and I'm looking like, and I'm talking about how I hate the ER, I avoid the ER with everything, and I haven't been there forever. This is the conversation on my way to work. So I get out the car to go and walk into the building, and all of a sudden I have a freaking pain in my left side. I'm looking like, what is that? Did I just pull something? I'm like, what is that about? I'm looking like, okay, so I'm just shaking it off. I'm looking like, all right, that's crazy. So I'm at work, and mind you, I'm not moving around a whole lot. I'm sitting down during this whole entire time, during most of this time. And I'm like, I am in pain. So I'm talking to my coworkers. They're like, well, maybe it's gas. I'm looking like, well, maybe. So we still laugh about this day. My one coworker gives me Tums. I'm like, well, here, I have some Tums. I'm looking like, okay. So my other coworker's like, maybe you should go. And I'm looking like, I'm not going home, because on top of everything else, we have this thing at work that when we're short-staffed, we work extra hours and we can get an incentive. An incentive is like an extra amount of money on top of our hourly wage plus overtime and everything else. And I had did quite a bit of incentive, and I was looking like, I ain't going home, because if you call out or anything else, you lose the incentive. So I'm looking like, bump that, I ain't going nowhere. So I worked through the whole entire day like in pain, and as the time kept going on, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. So finally I finished work. This is on a Friday. I finished work, I go home, still in pain. And I'm looking like, dang, maybe I have to go to the bathroom. Don't have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, what is going on? So I was like, well, I haven't eaten anything all day, so let me eat something. So I tried to eat something, and TMI and icky. I was nauseous and I started throwing up as soon as I tried, and it was not working whatsoever. I was just like, what the heck? So now I'm like, I gotta go to the ER. I was like, I don't want to go to the ER. I was like, I'm gonna have to go to the ER. So while I'm trying to go to the ER, so I'm calling my job. I'm looking like, how many people's in the waiting room? They're like 10. I'm like, no. So I'm sitting there trying to hold off on going to the ER because I'm trying to wait for the waiting room to get down. But at this point, I'm like, I need to go to the ER now, because I'm not gonna be able to drive myself there in a little bit because I'm in that much pain. So I get to the ER. I'm walking in there. I'm like hunched over. They put me in waiting room, and I'm telling them, it's this pain or whatever else is going on. So there was a lot of people in the waiting room, so it took forever to get in the back. By the time I got in the back, the pain was not at a 10, it was like at 100. It was like terrible. So I'm telling them how much pain I'm in, I'm telling them what's going on. So they do my blood work and everything, and the doctor is like, we gave you some IV Tylenol. I looked at him like this. I was like, IV Tylenol? I'm like, what? I'm looking like, I'm literally telling you my pain is like beyond IV Tylenol. So he gives me the IV Tylenol. Nurse is like, if it's still in pain in like 10 minutes, just let me know, whatever else. But luckily, the person that was over top of him came in, and I told her, I was like, I am in pain. I'm like, it's because at this point they're giving me IV Tylenol, but they also have to give me medicine because I'm still throwing up. So, and I was doing it the whole entire time I was in the waiting room. So she comes in, she's like, okay, we'll give you some morphine. Okay, so they give me morphine, and I get the morphine, but it never fails that whenever they give you pain medicine, they give you the pain medicine, and you're like this, okay, I got a little relief, little relief. Time to go to CAT scan. You're like this, what? So I go to CAT scan, and now they're moving around. So, I had a little bit of relief, but now the pain's coming back because I'm moving around. So they do my CAT scan. I go back to so now I'm in pain again. I'm in pain. And they're like, okay, well, let's give you some fentanyl. So I get fentanyl. Fentanyl didn't do dilly. Fentanyl didn't touch anything. I'm looking like, I am still in pain. The fentanyl touched nothing. So at this point, they're like, all right. And they give me Dilaudid. I have a little relief. I'm still in pain. So at this point, I've had IV Tylenol. I've had morphine. I've had fentanyl. And I've had Dilaudid. And I'm still in pain. Not at 100, but I'm at like a 7 or 8, still in pain. So the doctors come in, they're like, okay, we're going to take you for an ultrasound because something came back and we need to just check with it as far as your ovary. I'm like, okay. So I go to the ultrasound. That's pleasurable because they have to press down or whatever. She's like, I'm so sorry. So they're doing the ultrasound. When I get back to my bed in the ER, there's 2 doctors waiting for me. They're like, it looks like the blood flow to your ovary is cut off. Looks like you have ovarian torsion. If you don't know what ovarian torsion is, like when your ovary wraps around itself, and sometimes people get it and it comes back around. However, mine was, it wrapped around, it didn't come back around, possibly because I had a cyst also in the ovary, so the cyst prevented it from coming back around, so it just got stuck. So with that, they were like, okay, you got to have surgery. Well, you got to have surgery. We have to, because this is what they're thinking it is. This is what they're thinking it is, that is ovarian torsion, but they're not quite sure. So we're like, we're going to do an exploratory surgery. We're going to do an exploratory, if it is what it is, we'll, deal with it. I'm like, okay. So they take me to my room, and they take me from the ER to my room, and as soon as I get to the room, the nurse is like, don't even put her on the bed. They're calling her to get to the surgery right now, because I guess this is emergency surgery. So they're saying take her there right now. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I didn't even really get to do anything. I got to my room. They were like, no, take her to OR. Now, mind you, at this point, I'm on medication. I'm on all this pain medication or whatever else. And now I'm looking like surgery. I'm someone who's had plenty of surgeries. I've had plenty of surgeries, lots of surgeries. But they were planned. What I don't appreciate is when, I'm sure no one appreciates, is when you have a surgery and it's not planned. So I'm like, oh my gosh. What made me feel better with the whole entire situation is I got up there to get prepped for the surgery, as far as to meet the anesthesiologist and the doctors and the nurses and everything else. What made me feel better is that literally it was like God was like, okay, we're going to give her a break, because it seemed like every single person that was there to do my hysterectomy, because my gynecologist was there, every person that was there for my hysterectomy was there for this surgery. Same anesthesiology, same nurse anesthetist, nurses. It was like the same people. I was just like, so that made me feel a little better. So my doctor comes in. He was like, all right, we're going to do robotic surgery, and we're going to go through the same incisions. We're not going to try to cause any new incisions. We're going to try to go through the same incisions that we did for your hysterectomy. I'm like, all right. So they do the surgery. I get back to my room, and not him, another, was it him? It's like I said, it's all blur. I was on a bunch of pain medication. But they came, no, it wasn't him. It was another doctor that came. One doctor that I was working with them, and she comes in and she's like, yeah, we had ovarian torsion. They were like classic sign of ovarian torsion, like pretty much blood flow was cut off. There was no blood getting to my ovary. It was just cut off because it was twisted, and that's what was causing so much pain. So they took my left ovary. So now I just got one ovary. So they took my left ovary. So that happened. I stayed at the hospital for one day, then I came home, and I was like, I'm trying to get back to work, because also with everything else, I don't want to have to go on medical leave. So I'm looking like I got to get back to work within 7 days. And my coworker's like, you're nuts. And I'm looking like I need to get back. So each day I'm looking like, I think I can make it back. I think I can make it back, guys. I think I can make it back. Because my doctor's like, mind you, I'm sitting here just still saying this even though I haven't gone to my follow-up. So I go to, I'm like, I can make it. So I go to the follow-up, and I'm telling my doctor, I'm telling him, he was like, well, you really should be off longer. And I said, if I promise to go back to work and I literally just sit my behind down at a desk all day, can I go back? He was like, all right. So during this time, I'm looking like, each day that went by, I'm like, I'll be in tomorrow. And it was like, no, my body's like, no, you're not. So finally, by like the 6th day, I was able to make it into work. my coworker was like, you're nuts. I was looking like, I refuse. I was like, I don't want to have to go on medical leave. I don't want to do any medical leave paperwork or whatever else for like not a long time frame. I was like, I'm not trying to do this because it's a pain in New Jersey. It's a pain in the behind. So I was like, no. So I made it back to work. So walking around my one ovary or whatever else. So I have my appointment. My doctor's like, with my appointment, he was like, your one ovary should be good enough as far as for the hormones or whatever else. Because I'm really like, why don't you take both of the suckers? He was like, nah, we don't need to take both. Well, your one will be good. But why did this man tell me when I left that there's a good chance? He's like, you know, there's a higher chance that your right one will do the same thing the left one did. I'm looking at him like, if it's a high chance, why did you not take the other one? And I'm still telling him, I was like this. I said, if I have to go through this again with the right ovary, me and him going to fight. We are going to be in there boxing in the OR before I go in. So he tells me this. So I'm looking like, but he's like, oh, your hormones should be enough, blah, 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 blah. Well, my hormones were not enough. I started getting hot flashes, literally probably like a couple weeks after my appointment. I started getting hot flashes and all that other stuff. Well, it was impossible to get in with him because he's just busy. So I'm trying to get in with another doctor, but it's still hard to get in with a doctor. So now I'm just going through hot flashes for like a month. I'm just looking like, oh my gosh. I was like, this sucks. So I finally get in with the doctor, and she goes through everything with me as far as all the options and everything else. Different kind of medications and all this other stuff. And I'm looking like, no, just give me the estradiol patch. So I go on an estradiol patch, like the lowest dose. At the lowest dose, I'm no longer having hot flashes. I'm like, great. I'm no longer having hot flashes. This was probably like when was this? This was like I said, it's all a blur, everything going on. And actually, I didn't get with her for a little bit. So this is all going on. And she was like, you're gonna do this for so many months, and then you're gonna follow up to see how everything's going. So I'm like, all right. So I was on the estradiol patch for like 6-7 months, and I had my follow-up appointment with her, and she's like, so how's everything going? I was like, well, I'm having brain fog, and I'm having joint pain, and I'm like really tired, even though I'm getting 8-9 hours of sleep at night, because a girl can sleep. Sleeping has never been an issue for me. So I'm like, I was like, this is not cool at all. So she goes, well, this isn't really my specialty or whatever else. She's like, but I can schedule you, but you could schedule with a bioidentical hormone therapy specialist. So I'm thinking like, okay, great. So she's like, I'll order all your blood work so that when you have your appointment, your blood work's there. I'm like, okay. Well, I didn't realize that our hospital, through the OBGYN, through the gynecology department, has someone that specializes in this. Did not know at all, just found out. So I'm taking the hormone. I'm still on the estradiol patch, but I'm still feeling brain fog. And the worst thing, which is a terrible combination to have, is to have ADHD and brain fog. It's just a bad combination, because it's like the ADHD medication is not doing diddly squat. On top of the fact that because I have ADHD and because I'm on instant release medication, which requires me to take it twice a day, I usually forget my medication. My doctor's like, you have to set alarms. I was like, I do. And then I turn off the alarm and I'm still doing something. Then I forget about it until it's too late. And I can't take the medication too late. Otherwise, I'll be up at night. So, yeah. That's a whole entire story in itself. So I go to the doctor, and she's awesome. She is so awesome. She is awesome. We were talking about the different hormones and all this stuff, and she was like, you seem very knowledgeable, because in everything that I do, I research everything. Whenever I'm possibly taking the medication, whenever anything as far as situations, I research everything. So by the time I go in there, she was like, "You're very knowledgeable." I'm like, "Yeah." So she's talking to me about my lab results and everything else. She was like, "My estradiol seems pretty good." She goes, "My testosterone is low." So what happens with females with hormones or whatever else, we have testosterone in our body. We should have a certain amount of testosterone in our body. However, because it's not really hasn't been really researched and it's not FDA regulated, you can get tested for testosterone, but you may not get prescribed testosterone even though your body's needing it, because it helps with a whole lot of functions or whatever else. And I believe a lot of the joint pain and all this stuff I was having was from the low testosterone, and the brain fog and other symptoms I was having is because of the low testosterone. So she was like, "Yeah, your testosterone," she goes, "your testosterone's low." So it's almost like it's low, but my free testosterone, which I asked her, I said, "What's the difference between total testosterone and free testosterone?" She goes, "Total testosterone is the total testosterone in your body. Free testosterone is how much your body is actually using." So the range for females for free testosterone is from 0 to like 4.2 or something like that. Mine's a 0.3. So she was like, "Well, what we can do is there's a couple options." And so she gives me all the options for the estradiol. I can either do the patch, I could do a pill, or I could do a pellet. And she was like, progesterone, she goes, "A lot of times they sit there and say that, you don't need progesterone because you don't have a uterus, but everyone should just have progesterone because it also supports everything," or whatever else. She's like, "Not progesterone. So I was like, all right. She was like, "That comes in a pill or the pellet." So she's like, "Testosterone." She's like, "Testosterone comes in either a cream or a pellet." Now, I knew I did not want the pellet. One, I did not want the pellet because in me doing research, I have researched how they do the pellet. And I don't like needles. And I looked at the research. I said, "Oh, heck no." I was like, "No, we're not doing that." I was like, "We're not doing that at all." So I was like, "We're going to have to do the cream." So I'm on estradiol pill, progesterone pill, and testosterone cream. And I just started it. How long ago did I start it? Have I been on it for almost a month now? Almost a month. I still have a little bit of joint pain, but it's not as much as it was. But she says because my body, my one little ovary is still making some hormones, she was like, it's like we have to play around with it to get in a certain level or whatever and all this other stuff. So I'm like, okay. During the whole entire time since I've been on the medication, the pill and everything, 2 days out of that, I got hot flashes. I was looking like, what the heck is this mess? But then it went away. So I don't know if maybe my natural estrogen levels possibly went down or whatever else. I don't know what happened with that, but I didn't appreciate it at all for those 2 days. So I am now officially in hormone replacement therapy. Because I could get the estradiol paid for through insurance, and I can get the progesterone paid for through insurance. Not the testosterone. Testosterone you have to go through you have to pay for. But I chose to go through a compounding pharmacy, which I have to pay out of pocket for, because we can play around with the dosages more. You can specify more what you want through the compounding pharmacy versus just going through, the regular pharmacy. So, so I'm on hormone therapy. So that's where we're at in life now. So, my energy levels were down. My energy levels are coming back. The brain fog is clearing up, and my joint pain is getting better. So now we're still on our ADHD medication. I'm no longer on my blood pressure medication. The Wegovy, I am starting to wean off. So Wegovy, and I talked to my doctor, and he's okay with it. I'm on 2.4, which is the highest dose, but I take it every other week. I do it every other week, and I do it with no problems without getting sick or anything else. So I do it every other week, and my plan is to do that going into the summertime, because it's easier for me to want to get out the house early in the morning to try to go work out than during the wintertime. Wintertime, it's just cold. I don't like the cold. It's very hard for me to even think about trying to get out the house, because I'm on the thing of I'm setting myself up for success. I need to get back on to things. So pretty much at this point, my life is all about getting myself back together. And with that whole entire story, it's about following me in that process of me getting myself back together. So that is my story, and that's where I've been. Thanks for taking the ride and the journey with me, and let's see how things go.